So it is really a pleasure for me to be here, hosted by the Lean Global Connection event 2024. So what I would like to share today, this morning or this afternoon, depending on your time zone, is how a study case representing how we can provide more value in a lean transformation in the aim to implement a pull system, and especially a pull system with a digitalized supply chain, system. So just a brief introduction about me. I'm Francesco Dall'Oca. I'm one of the founding partners of Kanban Box and Synthesia. We are operating in the market, helping companies in transforming their production processes following lean principles. We are one group of 40 guys based in Italy. As a Kanban Box, we act providing a web platform, a e-Kanban solution, web platform to implement digital Kanban throughout the supply chain. And as a Synthesia, we help companies in transforming their production processes. Personally, I have 17 years of experience on the Gemba, on the shop floor. What we would like to talk about today starts from our experience in implementing lean transformation, especially putting in pool quite complex production processes. Once it comes to pool, we are always looking for the benefits of pool, reducing inventories, streamlining the process, avoiding overproduction, reducing lead times. And we typically start with pilot projects. So implementing pool within the company, for instance, providing components, internal Kanban for an assembly line, for instance. And after the first pilot project, typically companies extend the Kanban system to other part of the process, extending it. And after that, typically extend it to the external supply chain. And we always expect that benefits will increase linearly with the extension of the Kanban system. But in reality, sometimes, also on our experience, we have seen that sometimes real benefits are not increasing linearly as the extension throughout the supply chain. And this is due to many reasons, but quite often is due to problems, due to the increased complexity. So we would like to talk to you about a study case, an interesting study case of a quite complex company, where we implemented a digitalized Kanban system. Describing this company, it is a company with I cannot say the say the name of this. We don't have the right to use their logo. It's a company with a quite long manufacturing process with multiple phases, with high dependency on suppliers that are in charge of critical steps of core value-added steps of the production process, with many production steps that must synchronize with the pacemaker. And beside that, the components that are machined and produced are quite of high value. And these, of course, put an additional effort on the way to make the inventory lower. So telling the long story short about the transformation process of this company that is based in Italy, belonging to a very international, very big international group, we were not in charge to do the lean transformation. So it has been done by the company itself, helped by another consulting company. So they started from a typical push scenario with the MRP and push systems controlling the whole flow. In a nutshell, I mean, simplifying the process a little bit, They had external suppliers with the machining activities, heat treatment, grinding, other machining steps, and then assembly and coating to get finished goods available for shipping. And with the push system, the lead time was around 20 days. Then they started a pull transformation and putting in Kanban the whole flow from the end to the beginning, putting supermarkets in different point of the value stream, getting amazing results. So the lead time has been reduced from 20 days to 7 days. The whole system has been put in pool with manual Kanban, having literally hundreds of parts, thousands of cards running into the company. And once they call us, we literally saw a very good project at that point. Just to provide you with a few pictures that are typically more effective to describe the result of the lean transformation. There were supermarkets of components all over the factory with Kanban carts moving components and pulling the material flows along the supply chain. Some machines had physical constraints in terms of capacity. So there were Kanban boards beside every machine with sequence lanes to provide an optimized sequence for cards to guarantee that the materials were produced in FIFO or anyway respected setup wheels for machine. Again, they did a very great job. But after 1 year and a half, a couple of years of implementation, the team, always in the aim to make the transformation more effective, more efficient in terms of performances, started to reason about the new challenges for the extension of the pool system and to make it more performant. So, summarizing the challenges that they focused on once they called us, we could say that challenge number one was related to the management of this manual pull system, especially once it comes to multiple production steps within the production. The production. This company was organized in 2 plants, so these production phases were also split in 2 different plants. And the managing of so many Kanban cards that have to be moved on the shop floor beside the machines, synchronized considering the effective needs of every component for the subsequent step was quite time consuming. There was daily management in order to guarantee this synchronization. And just to give you the perspective, this was the control room with the Kanban boards for 1 product line, and there were 7 product lines in the company. So with the daily meeting to maintain the system aligned. The challenge number 2 was about the extension of the pull system to the external supply chain. So the company put in place a Kanban system to the external supplier, the pilot supplier, providing some custom components, managing this Kanban system, pulling signals to them. But the supplier was not involved visually in understanding what was actually going on at the customer side. So Kanban orders were released, but the supplier was not really involved in understanding how to make better its performances in respect to the demand of the customer, having also no visibility. So that's why the company reasoned about solving these issues with a Kanban digitalization. Just to avoid any misunderstanding before proceeding, once we say Kanban digitalization, we do not mean the removal of Kanban cards. Physical Kanban cards must remain a very important part of the system. So even an electronic Kanban system still has physical Kanban cards. So what does it mean putting a Kanban system in digital? In fact, it's not so complex because it implies putting barcodes on Kanban cards, asking people to scan such barcodes at least a couple of times during the process. So telling if a card is full, scanning it full, if a card is empty, scanning it empty, and then replacing physical boards with the digital boards. So implementing a digital Kanban is quite a simple and straightforward activity that for that company implies from 8 to 10 days of activities at their plant, no more than 10 working days to change the system from manual Kanban to digital Kanban. So what I would like to do now is to describe in 10 minutes what has been done actually concretely implementing a digital Kanban related to the two challenges described before. So about the problem number one, how to effectively manage a Kanban across multiple production steps in the production. You remember I mentioned the problem of synchronizing Kanban cards across multiple steps, guaranteeing that Kanban cards were associated properly to their materials, avoiding loss of cards, but also maintaining the correct dimension of the Kanban loops within the each steps and the subsequent step. So what has been done was the implementation of a multi-process electronic Kanban system. So again, putting barcodes on cards and asking the operator to scan such barcodes and implementing the multi-process Kanban feature. So once a card was scanned from full to empty, what happened is that the old card was removed. It was a throwaway Kanban system. And after that, 3 cards, in this case, example 3, because the production steps in this example are 3, are generated per each production steps. They are represented for the operators in the release status. And all of them, with the exception of the first, are released, so to be produced, but not producible. So visualized with a brown background. Only the first one is to be done and producible, and visible on a Kanban board that has been placed, a screen beside each single machine, where operators look into the Kanban board, starting producing the first card in the FIFO principle, printing the Kanban card, putting it physically on the box, scanning it in full status, making the subsequent part of the process producible. So once physically, the second step, the heat treatment in that case, started producing parts, taking the components from the previous part, looking the priority on the Kanban board that was available on the heat treatment area, printing the cards, attaching it physically to boxes, scanning it in the full status, was represented again on the Kanban board to make it visible to the whole factory that the materials were advancing throughout the flow. So I guess you have understood how it works until the end of the process. So at the conclusion, we get that the whole flow is represented physically and virtually, contemporarily, synchronized in the same way, avoiding movement of cards, avoiding loss of cards, and guaranteeing that each production step is monitored on the actual performances. And this is one of the first benefits that the company experienced. So getting statistics about how materials are consumed, how lead times are actually behaving. The company can do additional improvements. So more Kaizen steps, look into real data on the shop, coming from the shop floor. This implementation within the factory with multiple processes, Kanban, has been, let me say, simplified with a visualization available for operators just beside every single machine, with the screen in a sequenced view, making as easy as possible for them to understand what has to be done next, what is producible, what is not producible, helping the daily Kaizen meetings that were still maintained, because we are still in a lean environment with operators grouping themselves every morning from 8 to 8:15 to doing daily Kaizen, but providing them more information to do a better daily Kaizen. So I would like to summarize the benefits of the challenge number one that we tackle, talking about the fact that the digitalized Kanban drove to a robust management of this multi-process Kanban, with a real-time synchronization of material flows, with more data to do better maintenance. And beside that, eliminating some non-value added activities about checking components, understanding why are cards, if they are lost, if they are not synchronized on the specific Kanban board. Again, additional cost reduction related to non-value added indirect activities. So about the challenge number two that we mentioned, the extension of Kanban throughout the whole supply chain, as mentioned, the main issue was a concrete involvement of external suppliers. So here the company is represented on the right with the red border, and then the supplier is with the gray border. And the supplier itself has two plans. So plan number one and plan number two. So adding additional complexity to this material flow. And this was the pilot supplier was the supplier of a core component of one of the A-class components for that machine, for that company. So as mentioned, the issue was related to the lack of visibility for the customer. So again, the solution has been quite straightforward. Kanban cards has been transformed in electronic Kanban cards with the barcode. Just after scanning empty cards on the Kanban board, all Kanban cards were visible for the external supplier. So the Kanban board, through a web connection, started to become visible to the external supplier, providing a quite straightforward overview on what is full on the supermarket, what is empty to be produced, also enabling the supplier to interact with the customer, adding some intermediate advancement of materials. So, for instance, the supplier could scan cards, print cards at each side, attaching to boxes, scanning them into the in-process status to provide a feedback about that materials are proceeding. And last but not least, all the statistics that we have mentioned before were not available just for the customer to do more or better maintenance, but were available also for the supplier, enabling the supplier to get more information to make the process more reliable, more robust, more reactive from its side. Describing the transformation from the previous scenario to the final one, I would like to represent it as a real Kanban flowing literally from the supplier, from the customer to the supplier, because the supplier is able itself to print cards, to attaching them to materials, to see statistics, to see advancement of materials, to extend this concept again upstream and upstream on its supply chain. So the results were so great that the company decided to speed up the expansion of the system to the whole supply chain. And now they have 28 external suppliers linked with the platform, going every day on a daily basis on the Kanban board, looking for what is proceeding, how cards are going, about statistics, about what is the next priority to work on. And I will say that this was one of our greatest satisfaction about this process, the real and the engagement of external supplier on the project. So just to conclude about this second challenge, the manual Kanban system was already good, but it was not shared with external suppliers. The digitalization of Kanban has enabled them to get more on board and to be involved in the continuous improvement process. So I'm going to the conclusion about what are the benefits of this solution, and trying to find our non-traditional way to get some final conclusion on this project. I started reasoning about what are the typical sales pitch that we used to say, oh, let's move to an electronic solution. Let's try to implement a digital solution. We heard a lot once it comes to softwares, to digital platform. A lot of time we hear about a software is a solution to increase the scalability of the system, to make you more reactive once there are more plans, once you want to involve suppliers, once you want to integrate a system, once you want to get your Kanban system connected to the ERP or to the WMS. They are all true things. I'm not telling that they are not true. But getting integration to another ERP, for instance, is not the main benefit that you are looking for once you do a lean transformation. Once you do a lean transformation, you are looking to create more value for your customers. You want to eliminate the non-value-added activities. So going back to the reason of why we do Kanban. So Kanban is the most powerful pull technique that lean provides to us. So why we do Kanban? Most of the time you think that you do Kanban to reduce inventory or to reduce lead time. But once you do Kanban, you have to go into the Gemba. You have to understand how many pieces are storable in the boxes on the supermarket. You have to explore how people will pull materials from components. You have to reason on lead times. You have to reason on minimum lot sizes. You will see a lot of other sources of improvement that the Kanban philosophy bring you to do. So Kanban is not the final goal. Even electronic Kanban is not the final goal. They are just two steps on a continuous improvement process. So following the Kaizen principle of continuous improvement. So that's how I see this project, and that's how the customer thought about this project. It was an improvement process along a lean journey. So it's almost everything from my side, and I'm here to answer to any questions about this project. So I don't see you here, Hank.
Thank you very much, Francesco. Very impressive. I'm looking to the Q&A. There's one question. What would be the next step for your company to keep evolving the client to give more value?
I mean, related to the specific project or in general? I mean,
it doesn't say, but what would you like to comment on?
So we typically try to transmit that Kanban is a tool, and digital Kanban is just a bit better tool, but is anyway, as I just said, a way to stimulate yourself to go again into the Gemba, to look to the value stream, to look how to provide more value, to eliminate more waste. So look at it differently. We continue to verify how our customers are using the product. We put a lot of attention on their question, the tickets they send us, to provide more functionalities, but not just to make the tool more enriched by functionalities. Is not there is no point in doing functionalities by their own self. It's just to make the system more fitting the capacity of exploring the physical process to provide more value and to eliminate more wastage. So we try to stimulate our customers to write us directly to help them in making their processes more lean, more robust with our help.
Makes sense. Thank you. Some more questions coming in. Can digital Kanban be implemented without physical cards?
A Kanban system requires anyway a physical system to say that a material is consumed. So every system that can substitute a physical Kanban card, but remaining a physical way of telling that the material has been consumed is okay. So if it is a balance, if it is an RFID system, if it is whatever that can anyway tell that a material is consumed on a physical perspective. If it is not physical, it is not Kanban.
Clear. Very clear. What is the typical duration for this type of transformation until stability is reached?
So if we start from an already existing manual Kanban system, we can guarantee that the digital Kanban system can be put in place in a time that can last from 5 to 10 working days. So I mean, it's a matter of 1 month or no more than this.
Yeah.
After that, if we look to the time that it's required to stabilize the system, of course, it's like the Kaizen approach. You have improvement, stabilization, standardization. Improvement, stabilization, standardization. It's always like that. So it takes some months to stabilize to the new standard.
Cool. So the half hour is up, but there are some questions, so still open. So if you're willing to continue to answer them, more than happy. Are you still okay to take some questions?
I'm okay.
Francesco? Yeah,
yes,
cool. Here we go. We experimented a problem in other we experienced a problem in another warehouse implementation when internet has no connection for a whole day, for example. What could you do in this kind of situation?
That's another good question. So once you implement an electronic Kanban system, because you still have Kanban cards, physical Kanban cards, do not forget that you still have cards. So even if internet connection is not available for 1, 8, or 10 hours, you can keep your Kanban cards physically like you did in the manual version. And then once the internet is available again, you can restart with the digital Kanban. But it doesn't mean that you do not have your Kanban system in place. You have just your Kanban system going back for some hours to the manual version. And it worked in the manual version. I mean, it's like driving a car with an automatic gear. I mean, if you have to drive manually, you are still able to do it.
Yeah. Clear. How can you manage your suppliers to buy into a digital platform that allow your supplier to see the status of orders?
Another very good question. So first of all, the philosophy of the Kanban box platform is to provide a free access to suppliers. So first of all, they do not have to pay anything. So it is free. And beside that, they get a lot of benefits from the system because having nothing to pay, they get a lot of information. They see in real time what they have to provide. They can interact with the customer. They can chat with the customer on the specific car. They can see how many cards are full and available at the customer side. They can clearly see statistics, delays. So I would say that they have only benefits, paying nothing. So if we do a bit of good marketing with suppliers, describing that they will get only the benefits without any cost, I think that they will jump into the system quite quickly. I have never seen suppliers doing any actual pushback on this implementation.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you. And I guess the last question for today, how can I start with Kanban in a traditional manufacturing company? That's a big one.
So as usual, if you have to start the Kanban from scratch, my advice, so we sell a new Kanban platform, but I will say if you have to start from scratch, do not do electronic Kanban from day one. Let's start with the manual version. That is always the best choice. So first of all, you have to do a value stream. You have to understand where the flow is stopping. You have to design a future state with a future state map, defining the pacemaker, where to put supermarkets. And then it's just a matter of starting physically. So taking a pilot product family, dimensioning a Kanban for a pilot set of components, and then to do it manually, to try. So there is no company in the world that is not able to do Kanban. There is no company in the world that can do everything with Kanban. It's always a solution that has to be balanced with the existing characteristics of the material flows.
Clear. There's one last question slipped in. Kanban box can be integrated with ERPs as SAP or Oracle. How is the relationship of the information flows?
Of course, it can be integrated with every ERP. We have a specific partnership with Oracle. So if the company has a cloud version of Oracle ERPs, there is an already, let me say, already done connectors, but we are linkable with every ERP. We are linked 70 or 75% of our customers are linked to their ERP. SAP, Oracle, JD Edwards are the most common, of course.
Great. So that's it, I think. Francesco, many thanks for these case studies. Thanks for sponsoring our event. And enjoy. Have a good night. See you around later.
Bye-bye to everyone.